All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Owls on Record. I'm joined today by Madison Barchas, a rising senior from the Bryn Mawr crew team. How are you doing today, Madison?
I'm doing pretty well. It's 101 degrees outside, so the
You're
AC is
down in
cool.
Texas, right?
I am in Texas, yes.
Okay, a little warm, I'm sure. Well, I appreciate you I hope you're enjoying the cool weather in your house and joining.
Yes, the AC is lovely.
Yeah, exactly. So can you introduce yourself a little bit and tell people what you're studying at Bryn Mawr and maybe what your post-BMC kind of goals are?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Madison Barchas, and sorry, my dog just came in.
Totally
And
fine.
I am a classics major, focusing more on the culture side of classics rather than the languages. And I'm also a pre-med student at Bryn Mawr. So yeah, hopefully after Bryn Mawr, I will go to med school, but we'll see what happens. I'm planning on taking a gap year to focus on applications. And also I have family in other parts of the world, so traveling to see them and catch up with them after all this craziness.
Yeah, I'm sure. If you don't mind me asking, where are you hoping to travel in that gap year?
Well, my friend has proposed an idea that she was going to do a kind of Mediterranean tour. And I just said I was going to join her with that. I kind of invited myself, but I have family in the Netherlands. And so I was planning on spending a couple of weeks, if not 1 or 2 months with them, and just getting better at the language and seeing my cousins because they grow up so fast, and my grandmother and everything.
Excellent. That's very cool. Well, hopefully things clear up enough with this virus that you're able to do that as soon as possible. I hope that.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, for sure. And then you said pre-med. Do you have kind of an idea kind of what you want to do? I know it's still a long ways off, but do you have something in mind that you'd like to really go for?
I love the emergency rooms. I've done a couple of internships with different doctors, and one of them was in an emergency department at Tufts Medical Center. We have a family friend who's attending there, and I loved it. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed that we had a trauma that came in. I felt bad because I was actually really excited about that. And anytime someone needed stitches, I was looking to see if there was a good angle where I could see the procedure happening, which I think is good for a doctor, not necessarily good for the student who's standing in the corner next to the patient. But I love that aspect of medicine. But my grandfather he was a psychiatrist. And so I've kind of grown up with that. And so I'd love to explore more about that side of medicine as well.
Sure. Very cool. So what made you choose to attend Bryn Mawr during your college search, kind of the why Bryn Mawr, and what have your first 3 years here at Bryn Mawr been like?
Well, I first learned about Bryn Mawr from my best friend's mom. She's an alum, and she really wanted one of her daughters to go to Bryn Mawr, and neither of her biological daughters kind of wanted to, and so she was hoping that me, the kind of quasi-adopted daughter, would go. And at first I was not interested in it. I didn't want to go to a college that was mostly women. I had gone to a elementary and middle school that was an all girls school. I kind of wanted to expand my horizons, but I said, okay, I'll apply, I'll make you happy. And then I came and visited, and it was wonderful. I spent a lot of time with the rowing team because I was a recruit, and just being on campus was a magical experience. I got to see the cherry blossoms, which was really nice. It was a good time to be there. And it was kind of like stepping into Hogwarts and seeing all of the beautiful Gothic buildings. And the team was so welcoming, so inviting, that it made me want to come back. So it was really the campus visit that made me want to join.
Yeah, it's definitely probably one of the most beautiful campuses I've ever stepped foot on.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Can you talk to people a little bit about how you got involved in the sport of rowing? I'm sure there's a lot of people who would kind of watch this and not really have a lot of experience with rowing. So if you can kind of talk a little bit about how you got involved and what that's been like, that'd be pretty cool.
Well, I started off my kind of athletics career, I guess, as a fencer. I fenced for a couple of years in elementary and middle school. But it got to the point where there was a lot of the culture of fencing is very different from rowing. It's very individual. People kind of import coaches from Czechoslovakia that are former Olympians to yell at their 13-year-olds. And I really didn't enjoy that. I didn't enjoy the fact that the culture of that sport was to be yelled at. And so when I moved to high school, I took a break from it. And there was a rowing program at my high school. There's 2 rowing programs here in Austin, and my high school was had a relationship with one of them. And so I thought, hey, I'll give it a try. They like tall people. I'm very tall. I'm 6 foot. Why not try it? And I loved it. I love the team aspect of that sport. The fact that you have to trust the person that's in front of you in the boat and the person that's behind you in the boat. You have to trust that they're doing just as much work as you are and putting in just as much effort. It's a very individual sport in the sense that you have to put in the work, but you're surrounded by your teammates. And if you succeed, it's because of them. And if you fail, it's because of them in that way. I also really enjoy that's the only sport you can win while going backwards. Because you don't
never thought about that.
And you get to sit down. I'm not very coordinated, so being able to only do one motion is really, really good.
That's awesome. I have never thought about that. That's such a unique way to think.
But it's strange, isn't it? If you can imagine like a basketball or like baseball or any other sport going backwards down the field, it's just wrong.
Sure, yeah. Oh, that's hilarious. I'll never not think about that now. I'll never not picture that.
Welcome, or I'm sorry, depending on.
No, that's okay. It's awesome. So one of the neat things about being a rower at Bryn Mawr is you've had the chance to really travel to a lot of kind of historic regattas, things like the Dad Vale or the Head of the Charles, really historic events that are nationally or even internationally kind of renowned. Can you talk about what it's been like to be a part of historic events like that and compete in those events? And maybe if you, either those ones or anything else, if you have a favorite place you've ever traveled with your team.
So I guess the biggest regatta that we go to is Head of the Charles in the fall at the end of October in Boston, Massachusetts. And I had never been before. It was quite an experience. I've never been somewhere where the majority of people weren't rowers. The majority of people are just spectators that come and watch from the bridges. And it's one of those regattas that has a hairpin turn in it. And so if you watch from a certain point of view, you might be able to see some boat crashes, which is fun in a kind of morbid way, I guess. But it's also, there's such an atmosphere to Head of the Charles where it is, you have colleges and you have teams that are nationally ranked or collegiately ranked from all over the world. And it is pretty extraordinary to be able to be a part of that. You also mentioned Dad Vales, which is the largest collegiate regatta that in the US, and we are very fortunate to be able to go to that. And that's also very fun. Although the first time that I went, we got lost in the vans. And we were running late for a coxswain weigh-in, and so there was a little bit of hecticness of trying to figure out where we were supposed to park, because while there are signs, they're always too small. So when you drive past, you have to be like, okay, where is it? Where are we going? What's happening? But yeah, those two regattas are pretty extraordinary to go to. Although my favorite place that we end up is for spring break. We travel to Lake Lure, which is the lake in Dirty Dancing where they filmed the lift scene in the water. And so what I really want to do is to do a coxswain lift scene with that, but I've been shot down for that idea. But it is really, really special to be able to go there with a team. You spend your time in cabins and you cook together, and you sleep in about 4 or 5 different cabins along this golf course that looks a little sad because it's never the time to golf, and you're surrounded by this beautiful wilderness. And it is really special. It's a really, really amazing bonding period for those reasons.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Another of the kind of interesting things about Bryn Mawr rowing is that you get to row for Coach Carol Bauer, who's a legend, not only in our own athletic department, but kind of in the rowing community at large, gold medal winner. Can you talk a little bit about Coach Bauer and what it's like to row for her?
I have never met an individual who does not brag about their medals in the way that Coach Bauer does not talk about them. They're in a shoebox in her closet. Her Olympic gold medal is in a shoebox in her closet. And if you have to ask her in order to get any sort of stories, although sometimes at 5 a.m. when I think she hasn't quite had her coffee yet, and so she's a little more loose-lipped about the Olympics, she'll just randomly tell us the story while we're resting in between pieces about her coaches and racing at different events, about how she caught a crab at one of the national championships, and so they lost to the East Germans. I think that one really made an impression on her. But it is pretty extraordinary to be able to be taught from a person who's had that experience and that level of experience. Not only in racing, but also in being coached by the elite coaches of her day. And so she has a lot of really amazing information, and she's so knowledgeable about rowing. It is pretty great. And sometimes she brings her dog to practice, which is really nice. He's a great mascot.
That sounds like a fun time. So I wanted to close with asking a little bit about how else you're involved on campus. You've worked as a hall advisor, you've done peer tutor work. Can you talk a little bit about why that has been important to you? Why being involved in so many different areas of campus in your college life has been important to you?
I was never big into social life in high school. I wasn't really attached to my high school at all. Didn't really like my high school. But coming to Bryn Mawr, it is such a big sense of community. And I fell in love with it my freshman year. I was in this tiny, tiny little quad with three other women. And that is a very big bonding experience. You don't realize how small it is until you go back the next year to visit. And you realize, oh, wow, yeah, you really can't walk by someone when they're sitting at their desk because you'll run into the wall. But I think that also made us closer, and being part of a team also gave me an in to feeling like part of the community. And so I was a customs person my sophomore year, and I loved it. I loved being able to get to know the people in the hall and knowing them by name, talking to them about their classes. A friend of mine was one of the peer tutors, and she recommended that I get involved in that because it was something that I enjoy doing, is helping people learn different subjects. And so I became involved with that. I'm now one of the head peer tutors in that program, which is an amazing program, but we're not here to talk about that. But it is, for me, it's a way of feeling more of a part of the community. And I am very excited to be a hall advisor. This will be my first year. I took a break last year, and I really missed it. I missed being involved in the hallway and knowing everybody by name, being able to chat with them. It is something that I think Bryn Mawr does really, really well, is create a sense of community within the dorms and also on campus, because you know everybody by their face. Even if you don't know their name, you kind of know, oh yeah, I've had a class with her. Oh, we have the same lunch period together, and you nod, and you have little communications with each other on campus.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing about yourself and your time at Bryn Mawr. It's always fun to kind of hear from a rower, for sure. I hope the rest of your summer goes well, and we kind of get back in the swing of things in the fall as best we can. I know you rowers had your season cut short in the spring, and kind of it's been pretty rough. So hopefully we get back in the fall and things can kind of get as close to normal as possible. We'll see what happens. But thank you for your
fingers crossed. No, thank you. It was very fun to be able to break the monotony of quarantine with this.
I'm glad we could help.